You're listening to The Wave 108.8. The sounds of the shore to your radio. Oh, yeah. Hi, tonight we just want to give a shout out to our people in Florida, our listeners in Florida. Our hearts and minds are with you. Our prayers are with you as you deal with the hurricane. There was a fucking shark in the street. Literally a shark swimming down the fucking street. Horrifying. We hope you're being safe out there. We hope, when it comes to the rebuild, that God blesses you with all the resources you need. We hope your families are okay. We hope you're okay. But we also must remind you the following broadcast for mature audiences. We're on 108.8, so they might try to bleep out the curses this time, but we'll do our best. There is some savagery spoken about. We're talking abortion, we're talking crime, we're talking good people, bad people. Most of all, we'll be talking about, can you survive a kangaroo kicking your ass? All that and more on a very audio edition of This Will End in Darkness. So with that being said, you know what time it is. It's the nighttime. So let's have the conversations we can't have when the sun is up. Good evening. I'm Ralphie Martinez, and this one in darkness. Audio only, because we are visiting the Northern Bones. That's right. The home of WRKM and home of our sister radio station, The Wave 108.8. I know, shocking signature at the beginning. You weren't expecting that. But it's good to be back at the Bones. It's good to be around fellow Skelts. I am an honorary Skelt, as I'm originally from Brooklyn, but the Northern Bones have embraced me as a son of theirs, and I'm truly appreciative. The Bones is a beautiful Northeast archipelago with some amazing people, and one would say they have a very, let's just say, rebellious attitude towards the United States government and things of that nature. They are very much a closed-off place from everything else. Now, if you're a member of the Bones, you already know that, listening to this. But if you are part of our listenership that now extends across both coasts, middle of the country as well, welcome to the Northern Bones. This is our we're contractually. Why do I feel the need to pronounce contractually? So we're contractually obligated to do one episode from the Wave 108.8 once a year, and this is it. Normally it's in the summertime because we usually show up for the Wave Jamboree. There's a lot of good bands that play at it, but this year, we pushed it more into October, as I will be off from work for the Jewish holiday of Sukkot. So it just seemed a bit easier to arrange it for it to be October. But since we are in October, I do have to get a little bit of some local news out the way. Tonight, they want me to tell you the weather. See, they want me to do this old radio shit that we don't got to do on the TV show, which is kind of fucking annoying. Good thing this is on a delay, too. You on the internet will hear the uncut, but live. Good luck bleeping these. But it will be 65 tonight, so make sure to have a beautiful sweater. And I say beautiful because you want to look good in a sweater. I don't typically look good in sweaters. I'm a bit on the wider side. So when you're wider wearing a sweater, you just look big. But make sure you have a sweater that fits well on you because it's going to be a little breezy. You know, that northeast water brings in that cold air. No rain tonight, shockingly enough. Local news. Listen, weekend before Halloween, the Pumpkin Patch Festival is going on. Will I be there? Probably not. But other WRKM people will be there. Fred Donkenheim will be there from the Friday Bonanza show. He'll be giving out some prizes. And the Wave 108.8 will be broadcasting live. So you'll get to hear all the cool songs you're used to, but maybe a few surprises for some local bands and maybe some international bands if we are lucky. The Pumpkin Patch Festival will more than likely be, again, the 29th to the 28th? 28th to the 29th, right? Okay, thanks, Bobby. Yeah, once again, Bobby still refuses to speak, and I'm fine with that. Bobby knows his place. He just speaks in sign language. I appreciate it. But the Pumpkin Patch Festival is always a great time. So check that out. Did they give us a real studio at the Wave? No, they did not. They stuck us in the office. Because apparently all the other studios were booked for their regular talent. And since we are on loan, we don't get the good studio, and that's fine. I get it, you know. There's a bit of a rivalry between WRKM and the Wave 108.8. I am a victim of the rivalry. Though one would say I kind of started the rivalry last time we were here by insulting many of the people here at the 108.8 because I did not want to do this. I didn't want to do this originally, but we are here now, and I deeply appreciate being here at the Wave. I like being at the Bones more. Shout out to all the kids of Anderson Academy. They sent me a nice gift. They sent me a nice, cake they made. Thank you for that. Bigelow High, they sent me the hockey jersey for the team this year. I was really hyped. I always love being in the Bones. It feels like coming home. It has a very small community feel. And being part of that indirectly by being on WRKM has been a huge blessing. A huge blessing. But let's not bore the rest of our audience with Northern Bones stuff. I'm sure you'll get to know the Bones over time as you follow our show, because we always give a shout out to the Bones. How's it going this week? Well, it's a happening. A lot of things are in movement right now. We've got some midterms coming up politically. We got Stacey Abrams fighting for the gubernatorialship of Georgia. And, she's in a hotly contested race. She was in a hotly contested race last time and lost. It took her a little bit to admit she lost. She firmly believed that her election was stolen. Sounds like someone I know. But eventually she just said, I didn't necessarily, deny I lost. I had suspicions. Well, guess what? An Obama appointed judge just told her, well, those suspicions can end now because the election was on the up and up. But she is desperately trying to get, the liberals of the state to come out to vote for her, And with Roe v. Wade recently being reversed, she's doing everything she can to get that vote. She said that, when you're going through the process of having a baby, there's always the heartbeat. You hear that. And she said, her words, that was a manufactured sound. That's my stomach growling, that little gurgle you heard. They don't feed us here at the 108.8. We don't get any of the respect we deserve. But she was saying how that's a manufactured sound. That's interesting to say manufactured. Because I don't think amplification is manufactured. I think it's just amplifying what's already there. You're not creating the sound. You're not faking it. So I found that to be a bit bizarre for her to go on that leap. But I understand why she's doing it, because you really want the pro-abortion vote to come out. And that's the thing about it. I'm a pro-choice guy. I've always been a pro-choice guy. I think women should do whatever they want with their bodies. That's fine. But I do think it's a little intellectually dishonest to say that that's not really a heartbeat. Now, Planned Parenthood recently just changed how they view what a heart is. Because back in the day, they would say 3 to 6 weeks, there's a heart forming. Now they're getting really technical about it. And they did this right after Stacey Abrams said what she said. They changed the language to the cardiovascular system begins to develop around 3 weeks. Now, listen, can we play the semantics game and say it's not really a real heart yet? Maybe, if you want to play a semantics game. I'm all into semantics. I live most of my life in semantics. Semantics are a fun way to live life because anything can mean anything if you play the right semantics. Meanings be damned. Definitions be damned. But I do think it's a little intellectually dishonest because it's clearly a thing. It's a something happening. And now you'll ask, well, how can you be pro-choice then? If you believe that's kind of a life, or that's the beginning of a life. Well, to me, I'd rather not skate around what it is. We are, in essence, aborting babies. They may not be full babies yet, but they are becoming full babies. So I'd rather just the discussion be honest about it. I don't feel we should have to play semantic games to get people to support our missions, or we should have to change the definition of science to support our politics. I think abortion should be a straight up issue. Hey, we are aborting fetuses. They do have some level of life, maybe not a full life, maybe not, it's not full term, so they're not really living. So we should just be honest about it. And I understand from my pro-life homies that might be a disconcerting thing to hear, because for them, if it has a heartbeat, it lives. That has always, I guess, been the point of conception. But someone would say, once the sperm hits the egg, that's conception, which, scientifically speaking, maybe. But then you have to ask, are sperm alive? Everyone's jerking off. All the dudes jerk off. Every time you jerk off, that's 3 million sperm. Are you committing genocide every time you jerk off? Question has to be asked. Are all men Hitler? See, slippery slope when you start trying to figure out what a life is. I guarantee you, if they told men, hey, every time you're jerking off, that's an abortion, they want to change the definition of abortion really quick. They would want to be able to do those things. But I understand the pro-life argument. When you say something like, hey, this is a baby we are aborting, that is a very provocative statement. And it does elicit a response. It certainly stops me in my tracks when I hear it. But I'm also aware that there are situations where that baby cannot be born. There are situations of rape, of incest. And not even just crimes, just some people aren't ready. I myself am a child of teen pregnancy. So I understand it better than most. What it is to be in that scenario or to be a product of that scenario. My mom chose to have me. That's different. Good for her. Not necessarily good for her for having, but hey, she took on a challenge and she said, I'm going to do it. Going to make it happen. But some people aren't in her position. Some people aren't as strong. Some people just aren't good parents. And let's be honest, look how many kids we've known who don't have good parents. Hasn't there ever been a kid where you went, maybe he was better off aborted? I can tell you, I've met at least 15 of those. Sad to say. But some kids should have been aborted. But if Stacey says that heartbeat is manufactured, well, maybe she's not wrong. The womb is a factory of sorts. We are being manufactured. We're all manufactured people. We just don't know where to go. You see, that's me singing John Legend. And I can get this radio station sued. But hey, it's a parody. But we are manufactured people. And if we are manufactured people, according to Stacey Abrams, then we should be able to return children. This kid's defective. Take him back. Should we not? If that's the way we're going to look at it? I mean, you can't abort a kid after he's born, but you're able to send them back and go, hey, listen, this is not going to work. Maybe that's what putting up a kid for adoption is for. Maybe that's the send back. This kid's defective, get him away. Now, I'm not saying if you're adopted out there that you're defective in any way. I love you. I think you're a fine person. If you're adopted, hey, listen, people wanted you and they kept you. And I think that means a hell of a lot more. Because it's very different to look at a kid and go, hey, I'm adopting this kid and I'm going to keep him. Because you get a chance to hang with him for a little. They give you an out too. They give you a few weeks to get adjusted. Make sure that you actually like the kid. Make sure that you actually get along. Make sure he's actually going to do the chores you ask him to do. And he's not a complete fucking serial killer. But they end up keeping it. To me, that means a hell of a lot more. You judge the kid based on his character, not his circumstance. You're not stuck with him because he's yours. Some people treat their kids that way. Well, I have to have him. He's mine. So I'm pro-adoption. I think you have to be an asshole not to be. The thing is, I don't know if I would adopt. I don't know if I'm capable of it. I do think I am an asshole, actually. If I do have a kid, I want it to be my kid. Because I just don't know if I can have that level of love for a child that's not my own. And that's a tough question to ask. But I know there's people who can. And maybe in time, I could learn that. I think when you're faced with new concepts, it can be very, very challenging. And this would be a challenge for me. Could I love a kid that's not my own blood? And that's a challenge. Maybe it's a different skill set. Maybe it's like when you embrace your friends as your family. They're not necessarily family, but they're part of you. Like I know I have friends who I consider my siblings, people who I care very deeply for. Maybe that's what it's kind of like. You're manufacturing a relationship to be stronger because of the elements of it. You're creating a family. I wouldn't say through false elements. I think that's a terrible way of looking at it. But I think because maybe they're not your blood, one would say they're manufactured. I'm always been a huge advocate of building your own family. Blood I don't think really dictates family. So maybe that's where my hypocrisy comes in. I have a hard time dealing with adoption or my own way, or would I be able to adopt? But yeah, I'm so quick to tell people, screw your family. Blood doesn't determine anything. Pick your family. So maybe that's my hypocrisy. That's my cross to bear. I'm not above calling myself out for my horse shit. I'm fully aware I'm a flawed human being. But I think we are all flawed human beings. So when it comes to things like the abortion debate, I don't think anyone should tell anyone how they should live. I understand my pro-life brethren. I do. I understand where their views come from. And yes, I do believe in level of sanctity of life, but I'm very much of it doesn't affect me kind of person personally. Do what you want. Like I maybe this is a good reset for people who've just started listening to the show, but my personal view really comes down to, and this is like a non-comedic view. This is more of my actual view. If do what you want as long as it doesn't hurt anyone else. That's the way I look at it. If you're not hurting anyone else, have fun. But, some would say that fetus is of someone else. So that's the problem I think we're having. How do you define life? And I think if you are a pro-life person, then you should be able to listen. No one's telling you can't have your kid, but I just don't think you should tell other people how to live. And if anything, I would say, why not prove your point by having your own and raising them up? You're living your values. You're living your truth. A state should not have to dictate that. You have the freedom to have your own and raise your own. The second you want to get the state involved in these kind of personal matters, where do the limits stop? We talked about the vaccine a lot when it was happening. It's a real my body, my choice situation for some people, right? So is abortion, in my opinion. You don't want to be forced to take a vaccine. These people don't want to be forced to have a baby. Both are life-altering things, or at least considering the people who are pro having those freedoms. For people who are anti-vaccine, for them, it's like, you're affecting my life by me having to take the vaccine. Listen, I took the vaccine. I took the vaccine and I still caught COVID, and I haven't been boosted yet, but I might be. I've considered getting boosted. Because I just want to be able to say I'm boosted. I think it's funny to say you're boosted. It's like a pimp my ride situation. I'm boosted. Of course, they gave us the office. I feel like we're being sabotaged all the time, Bobby. You hear this background noise, Bobby? We're being sabotaged. I thought we were big stars around here, but apparently not. Apparently not. But we are lucky to be part of such an organization, aren't we? But we are lucky to be alive, We're built through the beauty of nature. We become these things, these people with thoughts and ideas, the potential to help and harm others. Horrifying of a thought if you think about it. Because the human existence essence of all of it is horrifying. Like, if you think about life as a whole, you're born, you don't choose to be. You're here, you're dealing with it. Every day is dealing with being born. That's at least how I see it. Sometimes I'm like, work. If I wasn't born, it's an extreme thought, but it's true. This economy, I wouldn't have to deal with it if I wasn't born. And that's the thing about it. We're all just dealing with being born. We're all just dealing with, things would be a bit different if I wasn't born. Things would be a bit different if some of these people weren't here. New York's kind of going through something like that right now. We have a lot of young kids attacking old people. There's videos everywhere about it on TikTok. And this is a problem. You have these kids who took 2 years off school, pretty much. No one was really governing them at home because their own parents were more than likely essential workers or people who had to go to work to, make money, make ends meet. So what happened? A lot of these kids end up in the streets. They end up doing shit they shouldn't have been doing. And they continue because there's no law and order anymore in this city. No one's held accountable for just about anything. Times Square has been a huge place for this to happen. Old people getting attacked, not just, regular old people just walking around, like people in wheelchairs getting attacked by a disrespectful youth, a youth that feels forgotten about economically, sociologically, but doesn't give them the right, though. And to be honest, to be fair, those are the kids that should have got aborted. Those are the kids I'm always talking about. Those should have got aborted. Is it wrong to say it? No, I don't think so. I think there is some essence to it, or some truth to it. I look at a bunch of these kids, and I often wonder, why are you here? Oh, that's because maybe some people were too poor to get abortions. Or some people's families were so religious they were forced to have the kid. And now this fucking little piece of shit's ruining all our lives. It's how I feel about Lena Dunham all the time. If someone had just told her mom, you can abort that, you wouldn't have to have dealt with that. I guarantee Lena Dunham looks in the mirror and probably thinks the same exact thing now. She's a freakishly looking woman. I will not apologize for that. She's freakishly looking, and finally her outside matches the darkness in her inside. Damn shame. But that's the truth of it, really. Some of us don't need to be here. It's why I'm not against suicide in some ways. Because if you realize, and listen, I'm not telling anyone you should. I want to make that clear. Disclaimer. I would prefer if you lived, because I think life can always change the next day and the next day afterwards, and things can get better. But if you've arrived to a point and you really thought about it, and you said, hey, this is not going to get any better. I'm looking at the analytics. I'm looking at the road in front of me. Maybe it's time to go. Maybe it's time to curtain call. I can't necessarily get mad at you for that now, can I? You're the one living the experience, not me. That would be called a late-term abortion. You see, like, we try to make jokes. But I do think that if we cannot abort these young hooligans, maybe we convince them to kill themselves. I don't know. But they won't, though, because that's the problem with youth. Youth thinks they deserve to be here majority of the time, but they don't. That's the beauty of being young, thinking none of this will come back to haunt you, or that, you cannot be defined by these things. You're always one slip away from being arrested or killed. But they don't know that because they're young. They think it's going to go on forever. And they're not just attacking old people either. Their arrogance is taken to other places. Granted, there is an issue with the NYPD here in New York. They can be a bit of a force for, I don't want to say evil, because they're upholding the laws of the state, but they can be aggressive. Let's put it that way. That's probably the most polite way to put anything with the NYPD. But they're now young guys who are starting fights with police officers, and their friends are nearby recording it, trying to get these police officers in trouble. It's been happening in my old neighborhood of Bushwick Projects. It's been happening in a few neighborhoods. I've heard a few stories about it from everyday citizens and police officers. And to me, this is the problem with unchecked, well, not necessarily unchecked. This is the problem when movements get taken over by the worst bad faith actors. When people find a way to exploit it, when people find a way to go, oh, I can have a bit of fun here. Maybe I can scam my way into something. Maybe I can go viral. But it is happening out there, and it's a damn shame because it's hurting the very movement we all fought for during the pandemic. I was never a defund the police kind of person because no one ever tells you how that's going to work. All right, you defund them. Now what? If you ask actual crime-ridden neighborhoods, they'll tell you they want more police, not less police. As someone who's from a crime-ridden neighborhood, born and raised, we wanted more police. It wasn't a less police situation. We would get annoyed when the police wouldn't show up. That used to be it's funny. That's how that used to be the thing, right? Back in the day, the criticism was you call the cops, they won't arrive for hours. But now we don't want them to arrive at all, apparently. Because when they show up, apparently it's not good enough. But consider the life of a cop. MTA workers are getting attacked too by the young. And maybe this is kind of how societies, when they're on a downturn, turn to. The young who can still hunt eat the old. Because it's their first kill. I'm not saying they're actually killing these people, but it's their first real hunt. It's their first real aggressive action. And it's how they establish dominance within their small group. And it's an easy target. They can establish dominance quick within their social groups and be looked at and feared. And when you're feared, I think for them, they feel seen, sadly. Definitely not heard, but they definitely feel seen. Maybe they feel ignored, and the only way to get attention is to attack the old, and it's a damn shame. You often wonder, where do these kids come from? And they come from ignored families. Families who probably shouldn't have had a kid in the first place. To people who probably shouldn't have had a kid in the first place. And I think to know you made a defective child, and I'm not talking about defective in terms of physicality and stuff like that. I think, kids who are born with certain issues, certain deformities, certain, disabilities, that's not their fault. And I find them to be some of the most strongest individuals because they have to overcome their bodies. To overcome the human body is a real powerful thing, especially your mind and your heart and your soul has to be strong. So I always am marveled. I've always have marveled at people who come with disabilities because they're always going to teach you something about courage. They're always going to teach you something about real fucking strength. You know? But when you do see a kid who has all the abilities, you know, choose to be a defective child, maybe that's the one you return. Maybe that's the one you get rid of. Maybe we send them to an island and we do it, you know, what's that fuck? Battle Royale style. Maybe Hunger Games had a point, is what I'm saying. Maybe Hunger Games had a point. There's a similar ritual here in the Bones every summer, a game the kids play, but it's not with those kind of high stakes, you know, where they do battle with each other. And, well, at least here in the Bones, they don't have that issue with the youth. I feel like with the youth, they're very invested here early. And there's programs and there's activities. And, you know, the youth is constantly being paid attention to in some way, whether it's through the society, whether it's through the school, at the school programs. The Bones has it pretty much, you know, set. But elsewhere in the world, it would seem that we have kind of left youth to figure it out on their own. Once the cell phone, once the iPad, once the computer showed up, we just gave them that and went, you go figure it out. You go look up weird shit. I looked up a lot of weird shit. Faces of Death. I saw that as a kid. And did it prepare me for life? No. Certainly made me horrified of life. Still scared of it now. But truth be told, you know, New York is going through a really bad time. Our youth is probably some of our most dangerous they've been in a long time. It reminds me a lot of 80s New York, 70s New York, 90s New York. You know, there's a lostness to them. And they are a lost generation. And the pandemic did hit this city pretty bad. You know, imagine 2 years out of school, but that's where you socialize. That's where you learn. Oh, my headphones fell. Fantastic. That's where you learn the rules of life. That's where you make your first friends. That's where you learn authority. But if you spent 2 years of your youth just running around, having a grand old time, not having to answer to anybody, well, you get what you asked for. You get what you pay for. I don't know what that saying was supposed to be, but it just came out my mouth. A lot of this is just gobbledygook coming out my mouth. But if we are truly manufactured people, maybe, well, to be honest, we do treat ourselves as products. You know, my liver is bad, I need a new one. You know, when you lose your leg, you get a replacement leg. We're always looking at ourselves as a machine that sometimes doesn't function correctly. So I often ask my own self, you know, am I operating at an optimal level? It's why I've chosen to do Sober October, you know. It's been pretty easy, actually. Yeah, it wasn't hard at all, you know. No booze, no weed, no nothing, you know. Actually pretty simple for me. I'm not someone of those wants. You know, I do them because I enjoy them, but I don't necessarily need them. And that's what, you know, that's what made Sober October fun. You know, I've actually found, you know, oh yeah, like I just do this stuff normally. I'm this mentally retarded normally. I know my apologies for saying retarded, but this is who I am, you know. A nutcase, really. A nutcase. But I often look at the youth now and I try to compare them to my youth. And, you know, yeah, there were some bad kids. You know, there were some kids who you knew it was never going to get any better for them. You know, both parents were addicts. They were fighting against their own. Because think about when you have addiction on both sides, you are fighting addiction within yourself. I know I do. Relatives on both sides of my family have dealt with addiction, and something I was talking to somebody about recently, that I know every day is a fight against the addict inside me. I look in the mirror and I know that. I'm highly aware that I'm just a bad year, a bad few weeks from succumbing to the addict inside me. And that might sound dark to some. I don't see it that way. I actually see it as empowering, that I have conquered the inner addict inside me for years. I have not succumbed to it. I've flirted when I was heavily drinking in my 20s, but it did not overtake me. And I think that's part of parenting. It maybe it's part of parenting, maybe it's part of, yep. Let's take a listen to that. Yeah. I know I'm fighting that on a regular. I know in time, I will have to meet it head on, face to face. Sorry we took a pause there. It was mostly to get a gander at the wildness happening here at 108.8. They're under construction too. It's weird how the Donkenheims chose both places to be getting worked on at the same time. But that's the Donkenheims for you. Always looking to penny pinch. I think it's the same crew working on both the station and I think both stations. So is that going to get us fired? Or are the Donkenheims going to feel weird I call them penny pinchers? I'm just saying what the truth is. I still don't get paid for my show. They still consider it a public service. So we do what we can. But, I know I'm fighting the addict inside me. And I think addiction is not just substance. I think it's behavior. I think it's anything you use to cope that you can't live without. And listen, that could be video games, that could be sex, that could be anything. But I think a lot of these kids are dealing with a level of addiction. They're addicted to dopamine hits, they're addicted to excitement, addicted to adrenaline. They get this dopamine hit from being on their phones, watching other people do stuff. Now they want to do stuff and they want that same likes, and that same algorithm hit. They are suffering just as much, I think, as regular addicts do. And I think that's the foundation of what's happened to our society. We're a society of addicts. The United States of addicts, really. Whether it's fentanyl, whether it's politics, whether it's, racial debates, whether it's, just the things we do every day that don't really do much for us, that take up more time from allowing us to really expand our horizons, spend time with our families, be part of a culture. That's why I'm happy to be here at the Bones. New York keeps me away from the Bones quite often. But when I'm here at the Bones, I am reminded that I am part of a culture. That when I look into the eyes of another scout, we are part of something. There's a cultural belief, there's a cultural ritual, it's a religion. I think all religions start in community. And without community and without feeling seen in your community, that's where the darkness comes. And I think when you stop seeing people in your community, when you no longer look at them as valuable to your community, that's when they become criminals. That's when they start, finding a way to survive and be seen. Criminality to me is just a cry for help. It's definitely trying to get resources, but it's definitely a cry for help as well. And I empathize with it. I had criminals in my own family. I don't run from that. I don't make excuses for it either. But I understand it. And if we are manufactured people, There are ways to heal that. You have to give the body, you have to give the human what they need. You have to give them the resources to be able to live a full, fulfilling life. You know, whether that's financially, whether that's healthcare, whether that's, you know, good schools, you know, you have to be willing to invest in people in order to make good people. But we all have to decide, you know, what makes a person a person. What makes someone worth investing in? And I think that's always the problem we have. You know, everyone has their own limit. Think about mentors. Mentors take on certain mentees because they see certain things they like. What if all kids can't do that? You know, I was a kid in high school, and I got to be a part of the advanced placement class, but I was only in that class because teachers fought for me to be in there. Because the people who made decisions didn't believe in me. Or Ralph doesn't want to do any of the work, which is fair. I actually agree with them. Ralph shows no interest in wanting to be a top-level student, but they're like, yeah, but he's highly intelligent. And if you give him a challenge, we feel he will rise to it. And I did. Because there's nothing more I love than being better than other people. That's what's gotten me here. It's what's gotten me to this microphone. I guess. Like, you know, I feel like I have thoughts that are worthy of hearing. If that's not egotistical, I don't know what it is. But I think all art is egotistical. The idea you as an artist must be seen, must be heard, that's egotistical. No matter how much care you put into it, no matter how much meaning you put behind it, it starts from an egotistical place. You see a world you don't like, you need to fix it. People in politics, same exact way. Stacey Abrams certainly thinks that. There's a level of ego on her. I'm the one that's going to fix this. I'm the one that's going to make this state better. Okay. But no, it comes from an ego place. No matter how good your politics are, ego cannot be stopped. Whether you're right, left, libertarian, ego is there. It's why they say we'll never really have a truly good president. Because to be president, you have to be egotistical. You have to be some level of sociopath. No genuinely good people take the job. And I don't care who, you throw out any president. You know, Washington was probably the only person that didn't want to be president. He was kind of forced into it. They wanted to make him king. He was like, no, thank you. But he also owned slaves, so he's not necessarily fully a great person either. Complex history, complex legacies, as we always say. But we are inherently manufactured people. We take on the ingredients you give us. Trauma, for instance. Like I'm from New York, so everyone says, you know, if you can make it here, you can make it anywhere. To me, that's a trauma response. We say that to make excuses for the city. You know, the city is quite frankly unlivable. But if you can make it here, you can make it anywhere. That's terrible rhetoric. That's hard. To me, it's horrifying in a lot of ways. Because you're saying, hey, the abuse is good for me. I need this level of abuse. I need this level of inability to pay my rent. This level of crime. This level of just dirtiness. Now, I've been to other cities. You know, they're cleaner than here. Being in New York, in essence, is knowing there are better places than New York. But you stay here because it's all you know. And the people who do put the test, if you can make it here, you can make it anywhere, tend to fail because they come right back. Most of the time. And they complain about wherever they are. It's just not New York. Are our cities over? Because I hear the same thing about LA. Or do we need better cities? Madison, Wisconsin is a fantastic city. I've been there twice. Charlotte, I hear it's fantastic. You know, maybe it's time for other cities to rise up. Maybe they can show us a thing or two how to get things done, because simply New York's not getting it done. It also beckons the question, why are liberal cities such shitholes? I often ask my party of choice that question all the time. I get no answers. No one has a real answer, but yet there was a cop in Baltimore who was looking through recent arrests he made, and he compared it to arrests 30 years prior and found the same kind of arrests were happening in the same kind of places. They were manufacturing criminals. Is that poverty? Is that, systematic racism? What are those things? We're manufactured people. You got to figure out why we're making defective people. We're making defective citizens. Can we say we're making the greatest citizenry that's ever been in any country right now? No. Maybe at a time we did. The greatest generation certainly thought they were. But in the end, we are struggling to create a society that works because we have such bad components and such terribly manufactured people. How do you solve that? How do you solve that? Programs? The right politicians? It's a tough question. I guess what I would like to leave with people, or to ask the people at home listening is, what are you doing to manufacture the best people we can have? Not just people in your immediate family, not just children you're raising, but the people around you. Are you feeding them ingredients to make them the best person they can be? Are you being the best person you can be? Wow, what a contemplative episode. Not so funny, was it? Sorry. I did throw some jokes in there. But it's been weighing on me, this question. And I'm wondering more and more about it. But are we manufacturing good warriors is another question as well. Recently, a man was attacked by a kangaroo and lost. Now, I'll be honest with you, I judge him harshly. What's a kangaroo got over a human? Reach, I'll give him that. Definitely got hops, but if you've played enough Street Fighter or Virtual Fighter, you wait till he's on the come down and bam, you hit him with Hadouken. That's what I would have done, fighting a kangaroo. But this is one kangaroo death in years? But CNN lost its shit. CNN was wondering, well, who can humans beat in a fight? And they did a poll. Which of the following animals, if any, do you think you could beat in a fight? They asked Brits and Americans. Rats got about a 70% chance. Close to 80. Both agreed they got the house cat taken down. Geese? Americans are more confident. Brits aren't. I think Brits have more experience with geese attacking them. So they kind of understand that a geese can be a bit lethal. If you ever watched the movie Hot Fuzz, there's a whole subplot with geese. Medium-sized dog, Americans, they think they got a 50% chance. But if I watch the movie Cujo, I have 0% chance. Dogs are just, they carry a lot of weight behind them, a lot of muscle. So when they attack, they attack. The Brits thought, like I did, they brought their chances down just a bit. Brits don't think they can really beat eagles, but Americans think they got a better chance, about 30%. Large dogs, Americans still holding on strong. British being smart, going no. But as you go down the line, everyone kind of agrees king cobras, can't beat them. They've got venoms and stuff. Chimpanzees, listen, we've heard the stories. You've ever seen that thing where a chimpanzee attacked a woman and ripped her fucking face apart? They're stronger than we are. But yeah, we underestimate them. We put them in cute little outfits and think someday they won't come back for us, but they will. The entire plot of Planet of the Apes is their comeback. And I do think Planet of the Apes is a thing. That could happen. I don't know how. I thought Rise of the Planet of the Apes did a really good job. Medical experiment makes them smarter. I did like that. Wolves, both are under 20%. Brits and Americans agree. Crocodile, same thing. Gorilla, lion, elephant, grizzly bear. It starts to get a bit more realistic. But call me arrogant, but I would fuck up a bear, dog. Yeah, I would fuck up a bear. Let me tell you something, dog. I'm always carrying a knife on me. I'm Puerto Rican. You have to carry a knife on you when you're Puerto Rican. It's part of the costume. You know? It's part of the code. Have a blade ready because you never know when they're coming to get you. Had Tainos done that, they'd still be here. But they were too busy fighting wars with wooden weapons. Damn, I buried my own people. But listen, if they had sharper blades, you probably would have won those wars. But I'm ready for a bear, dog. Just bam. Hit him on the side and start open him up. Now I got bear skin. Bear fur for the winter. Rats, they outnumber you. So you're getting jumped by them. And if they don't kill you, the rabies will. So maybe that's what I'm not taking into account. The disease factor. That is a tactic. That's kind of the zombie tactic when you think about it. You can kill a zombie, but if he gets one bite on you, he's killed you. Now it's an even playing field. Maybe we should take more of those into account. Cobras are slippery, you know. I'm not 100% confident I can grab one and control its head because even when you grab one, the head's still a little loose. You gotta catch it at the right spot. And even snake handlers have a hard time doing that. So that throws them off for me. But I just feel like I could beat a kangaroo, though. I feel like I can. Like, yeah, they got reach, but you start to pick up on somebody's movements after a while. You know? Unless, like, kangaroos have a straight punch. Because, you know, when you're fighting, if the thing with humans is this, like, when you get into a street fight, pay attention to the shoulders because the shoulders kind of telegraph where the hit's going to come from. That's what Michael J. White taught me. So you do that, maybe you got a better chance. But if kangaroos, and they have historically weird shoulders, if they're punching directly at you, straight line, a little harder to read. So I can get why we're getting our asses kicked by kangaroos. But me knowing that, though, I think gives me a better chance with kangaroos. I'd fuck a kangaroo up. And I fight dirty. I'm grabbing that baby kangaroo out the pouch, and I'm using it as fucking blackmail. Because a man's got to win. Big dog? Don't know. They bite quick. They're fucking... See, this is why I don't fuck with pit bulls, though. Because pit bulls are fucking heavy. My dad had a pit bull, Reese, and he didn't want to fight me. He wanted to fuck me, which I thought was even weirder. But I am a beautiful man, so I can't see why he thought of me as a woman. But truthfully speaking, you know, could I have beaten Reese? No. Couldn't have. He's too strong. He's going to at least get a bite on my arm, and that's going to bleed out. See, that's probably why dogs are so vicious, because they know where to bite. They've been biting humans since the beginning of time until we tamed them and made them man's best friend. Wolves, yeah, they're good. They're good. Crocodiles, man, yeah, like I don't care. They're fast. I watched a Komodo dragon the other day on Instagram eat an entire deer. Like, he didn't like munch on them. He swallowed the entire deer. He took time. He had like halfway in his mouth. He breathed a little bit and then sucked it right down and walked away like it was nothing. So he has like barely a broken up deer in his belly, slowly decomposing. Ugh, being digested. I wish the science had explained to me how that works. He has a whole deer in his body. How does his body break that down? Fascinating to think about. What animals do you think you could beat? Let us know on Instagram. This will end in darkness on Instagram. TWEID show on Twitter. Let us know who you'd beat. We got a lot of Texas listeners. I'm pretty sure they have a few they think they could take care of. Texans can't be stopped. That's what I've learned. Texans believe that against any animal, they've got a chance. And I respect that. It's not true. It's unrealistic. but I respect it. Californians, who right now are our biggest listening fan base, I don't know. The Northern Californians, I'm convinced, not the Southern ones though. The people of Los Angeles don't strike me as someone who could beat up animals. They're too busy trying to save them like fucking losers. Now, Floridians, they deal with crocodiles, so maybe they have a home field advantage. They're like, we understand the crocodile movements. We know how to get down. If I'm in a situation, I'm handling it. I once saw a video of a snake swallow a crocodile whole, and literally the entire snake's body was like the shape of the crocodile. And they said that snake is going to end up staying there for months, just taking down that body, slowly digesting it. You have to imagine the shits on these animals is ginormous. Mountains of shit. Maybe that's not why maybe I'm not a hunter because of that. I don't want to deal with all this shit. Because you do have to track the fecal matter. That's part of tracking, I heard. I'm not a hunter. I don't know any of these things. Geese, I don't know. I feel like, once again, geese have a maneuverability. So it's like, he's going to get me a few times before I can actually defend myself. He's got a long neck, though, so I'm breaking that shit. Once I got it, it's on. Hit him with the diamond cutter. Bam! Do some WWE moves on him. Neck breaker. Blah. But yeah. But you have to believe you could beat these animals, because how else could we have survived all this time in the jungle, all this time on the plains when we were cavemen? You know, we invented tools, spears, and all that. So I have to think, in a modern day situation, maybe you could use your belt in some way. Like, you know, maybe we should all carry guns. Oh shit, is this a Pro 2A podcast? It might be now. If kangaroos are out there, let me tell you something. If I had my gun, I would have fucking unloaded in that fucking kangaroo, dog. Step to me and see what happens. Fuck around and find out. But if it's a hand-to-hand combat situation, you know, I'm going to have to float like a butterfly, sting like a bee with this motherfucker, you know. Or maybe he's already doing that, and that's how he caught that guy sleeping. Because something tells me if a kangaroo gets a really good shot on you, because once again, straight line speed, they hit the button, you're done. You're done. But maybe that guy had to get killed by the kangaroo so we could manufacture more kangaroo-prepared humans. You know, maybe his descendants, hopefully he had children, will go, I saw how my dad died from the kangaroos, and that's not going to be me. I will teach my kids how to hunt the kangaroo. Now you got a kangaroo vigilante. Definitely Australian. Might. He's like Batman, but not really. Batmite. But are we manufacturing things that can survive? I don't know. We're certainly not manufacturing great people, but at least we can try manufacturing some survivors. Who knows? I'm getting the wrap-up sign from Bobby. That means our time here at the 108.8 has come to an end. But I do want to leave you one little thing to consider. Look in the mirror. Really look at yourself. And ask yourself, what are you battling? Spiritually, mentally, metaphorically, in your everyday life? Is it your job? Is it your family? Is it your friends? Your enemies? Is it the system you live under? Is it your community? And can you defeat those things? Can you overcome them to be the best person you can be? And in that version of the best person you are, could a kangaroo fuck you up? Or are you going to let a kangaroo fuck you up? That's what I'm going to ask you. That's what you got to ask yourself. Will you let a kangaroo fuck you up? I hope not. I hope you're strong enough. Because you get killed by a kangaroo, That's goofy ass shit. That's some cartoon shit. All right? No disrespect. That Kangaroo hit him with a 2-piece, dog. Hit him with a 2-piece. Maybe if he had gone some boxing lessons, maybe he would have been prepared for the Kangaroo 2-piece. Or maybe once the fight started, he knew deep down how that was going to end.